welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Natasha with Attitude, and this is the daily show where we give you all the latest news in the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us today, the host of Collider Jedi Council, Kristian Harloff.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Collider Movie Talk. Very excited to have everybody here joining us today. Gonna be a lot of fun. Who's joining us today, Natasha?
Well, someone who I had to teach how to use his Insta story, the host of Collider Heroes, Jon Schnepp.
Wah, wah. Everybody learns sometime, guys, right?
Pet that sausage, will you? Oh, there you go.
And the man whom I betrayed, and the host of the Top 10 show, John Rocha.
Right? I mean, we're going to try to rectify that soon, but yeah.
I mean, relationships, like forgiveness is always key.
I guess
right?
it is. Never take sides against the family again, Natasha.
All right.
What's coming up? What do we got?
Well, we last saw Natalie Portman in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, helping Thor save the world in Thor: The Dark World. Her Jane Foster was then briefly mentioned by Thor again during the party in Avengers: Age of Ultron. We know she won't play a part in Thor: Ragnarok, and now fans are wondering if she will ever return to Thor or the MCU again. In a recent interview with the Wall Street Journal, Portman said the following: "As far as I know, I'm done. I don't know if maybe one day they'll ask for an Avengers 7 or whatever. I have no idea. But as far as I know, I'm done. But it was a great thing to be a part of." Kristian, do you think Marvel will eventually bring back Natalie Portman as Jane Foster?
I mean, it's hard to say no, never, because I'm not in those meetings. I don't know if they have an intent for her to come back. I think as far as the Thor storyline, it doesn't really serve the purpose to have her in the new one. And let's be honest, her chemistry with Chris Hemsworth, it wasn't there. And that's not their fault. I mean, she's been in that position before with Hayden Christensen. Sometimes when she's in these big budget movies, it doesn't come out. The talent that we know that she has, if you've seen her in Black Swan or even as early as The Professional, you know the type of actress and what she's capable of. We know that Natalie Portman is a great actress. There's just times that certain things that if she's not completely 100% invested in or can't lock into, it doesn't work. So I think that's partially why she's not coming back, because if the chemistry between the two of them was just off the charts, people would be calling for her back. I don't think anybody is crushed that she's not coming back. But the question, will she ever return? She even says it herself. If in the Avengers they need her down the line, or if it serves a purpose to do a small scene, I think it's possible, but you don't need her, and it's not tragic that she's not going to be in it. Schnepp?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think her role as Jane Foster was ever like built up in either of the first two Thor movies to be, a major love interest. She wasn't given enough screen time. There's not really enough character development there. And in the Avengers film, she's kind of written off like, oh, things have cooled off with her, and you see a picture of her. So I think Jane Foster is on ice, and you're right. If they ever want to bring her back in Avengers 7, I'm sure she would do it, but I think she's written out for right now.
Yeah, we saw that when Sif kind of took center stage in the second Thor movie. She kind of became kind of his pseudo-love interest for the film. But we also see this situation where Kat Dennings is more memorable. Even Stellan Skarsgård is a bit more memorable from that crew of people that Thor first encountered in his first film and that kind of jazz. So, yeah, and you're right, Kristian. Sometimes the chemistry just isn't there. With Natalie is a great actress, but she seems to really shine in more independent films and more smaller films than she does in the bigger films. It doesn't mean that she's not well liked or as good of an actress. It may just mean that they haven't found the right person that can match her toe-to-toe on screen to the level that she brings, you know? Right. And you're right. I think, John, you're also right. They underwrote the role a little bit for her. I mean, she's incredibly intelligent. She figures all this stuff out, yet she's kind of boring at times. So the only time you really felt any chemistry was at the end of the second Thor movie when she's having the cereal and that's the only time you really felt that spark.
The last 30 seconds of the second Thor movie.
Something.
And remember, she didn't want to be in the second Thor.
Right.
Yeah,
She was originally, she wanted to be in it because Patty Jenkins was supposed to be directing, and then that fell through, and she did not want to be in the movie, but she did it. I don't think she was kind of kicking her feet or saying, I'm going to put in a crappy performance.
No.
I don't think that happened. I just, like I said, I just don't think she connected to it, and we felt it as an audience. So it's a thing that she moves on. Great. They put her in like a cameo down the line.
Avengers 7.
Sure. All right, Natasha, what's next?
According to a report from the tracking board, the long-in-development Clue remake from Hasbro has landed at 20th Century Fox. Details on the story are being kept under wraps. However, the report mentions filmmakers wish to move the new story out of the one-location house in order to make the game a worldwide mystery with action-adventure elements that will potentially set up a new franchise. Pirates of the Caribbean director Gore Verbinski was attached to direct the project, but it is not clear at this time if he is still involved in any capacity. Schnepp, thoughts on a worldwide mystery remake of the movie Clue?
I would like to play the game Clue first of the worldwide mystery, because all I remember is the old Clue game where it's Mr. Mustard with the hammer in the toilet, whatever. It's like, I remember playing the game, and I loved the Clue movie when it came out. It had multiple endings. You had to go see it a couple different times to see the different endings, and it was a lot of fun. Tim Curry was amazing, great cast, Madeline Kahn. But how many years ago was that? That's like 30 years ago. So now they're making a Clue movie, just like Ridley Scott's doing Monopoly. You got all these different kinds of board game movies coming to life. Them broadening the perspective of Clue and making it worldwide mystery sounds intriguing to me, but I'd like to actually play that game Clue first before maybe they're going to make it an interactive movie where you have to, buy the game first. I don't know. It sounds interesting. At least it's a different way to interpret a board game for a movie.
See, it's a different way to do it for sure, and it could be interesting, but it could also be throwing as much money at it as possible, make it too big, and you kind of lose the special and the magic that Clue really was. Because what I think they could have done, just imagine a Quentin Tarantino's Clue. I don't ever think it would ever happen, but just
Real
imagine.
Dead Body.
But I think what made Clue so special, Real Dead Body, yeah, absolutely. But what made the first Clue so special, it was these comedic personalities in this small space. It was a small movie, and it relied on the talent and the comedy and the mystery, and you just were invested in it because it's a really fun movie and it still holds up. So I kind of would like to see the comedic personalities. I'm not opposed to a remake on it. I think a remake could have actually been pretty funny, but I would have liked to see them go the Deadpool route, put a little bit of money into it, rely on the comedic personalities that we have today, and see if they can pull that off in modern times, which is fine. Do a modern day Clue. That could be interesting. I don't know if you need to go super big, but I haven't seen the trailer. I don't know the vision of it. I just think, for me, hearing about it, that it might be a little bit too much money into a movie that doesn't necessarily need it, but we'll see when the trailer comes out.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think it's going to all have to do with the casting. I think it's a really big deal because right now they're venturing into Carmen Sandiego territory and that kind of jazz, and that can really throw it off. Because what was so great about the game is that it's a murder mystery. If you start to make you become a spy movie at that point, and you kind of throw the vibe of the game off completely, or at least the idea of the game off completely. And when you watch the original, which I had a screening of for some friends, I think a few months ago, and it does hold up, Kristian. It's still a good movie. It's fun to watch. Those are all people at the prime of their talent as actors and comedians. And so you want to see something like that, and especially Colleen Camp at the prime as the maid. She's incredibly funny in that.
Susan Sarandon, Martin Mull.
Yeah. I thought Sarandon.
Dave McKeon.
What are you talking
about?
That's Leslie Ann Warren.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Sarandon, but everyone gets them confused.
I just did.
Yeah, you just did it.
What a massive crush on.
That's all right.
So yeah, you see all that going. So I think it's all going to have to do with the casting, and then the writing comes in, and then you got to figure out what they're going to do with it. Because what is it going to be like in some hut in Turkey? There's something or whatever. So it's just going to have to be. It can if you expand the game too far out, you can lose the quaintness and that you enjoyed about it originally.
All right, what's next?
It appears that John Turturro's long-held wish to make a Big Lebowski spin-off has come true. In a report from Birth Movies Death, sources claim John Turturro's current movie, Going Places, is not actually a remake of a French sex farce, but actually a Big Lebowski spin-off centered around Turturro's Jesus character. Turturro is handling script duties while reprising his role alongside Bobby Cannavale, Audrey Tautou, and Susan Sarandon. The film tells the story of two petty thieves competing to give a woman her first orgasm. The Coen brothers are not creatively involved, so it appears that Turturro opted to make this film himself. Going Places currently has no distributor, but once word is out that this is a Big Lebowski movie, that is sure to change. Rocha, what do you think about a Big Lebowski spin-off with John Turturro?
I absolutely love this idea of a spin-off with John Turturro because his Jesus character, Jesus Quintana, is one of the best characters ever seen on screen with the most limited amount of time. He just completely almost steals the movie in that certain amount of time that he has. The thing is, though, in the film, he's a pedophile, right? I mean, Goodman's line is 8-year-olds, dude, 8-year-olds. So it's like that kind of feeling of, so what now he's trying to give a woman. Like, I just think it's kind of weird, this whole idea. And Turturro doesn't really read as like sexy, or maybe I'm a man, so I don't know. Maybe I'm a straight man, rather. I don't know if like maybe other women and gay guys see him as some kind of attractive guy. I think he's a good, solid, fantastic actor. I just don't know this idea of them competing to try to give a woman her first orgasm. It's kind of weird because of what the character was. I would buy more that he's like some kind of thief or some kind of whatever that was funnier to play, like comedy of that kind of disorganized crime type thing.
Sure.
So this is a little weird for me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little weird for me also, and the Coen brothers have nothing to do with
Yeah.
it. That's the thing.
That's
to
even
me.
weirder.
Yeah, I think that's the weirdest thing is that the Coen brothers aren't going to be involved in it.
Yeah.
Coen brothers, yes, was Turturro amazing as the Jesus?
Absolutely.
Of course he was, but it was the Coen brothers' flair that brought the Jesus to life, and them not involved in it. I don't know, and I agree with you. I don't know if I want to see a full movie on this guy because he's not supposed to be the most likable guy. And you don't have to listen. The dude wasn't exactly the best person morally, so you can root for people who are not morally in sync. You can do that, but because of that, because of the pedophilia, it's going to be hard to really care for a full movie on this guy unless they kind of change the back. Well, that actually didn't really happen. Here's what happened.
Yeah.
But you don't have that Coen brothers flair to it, so it's going to be a hard sell for. I mean, it's going to be hard for me to get behind it. We'll see.
I'm going to triple up this is weird.
Yeah.
I think it's a all-around weird thing. Like, the Coen brothers aren't involved. He's making a sequel for a tiny character from a great movie from like almost 20 years ago. Right. It's just strange.
Like,
and
does
also,
he have the rights to call him Jesus?
I don't even
too?
know if he has the rights. Maybe he's just calling the character Jesus or Jesus, and people are just reading into it. Maybe it has nothing to do with the Big Lebowski, and somebody saw a pink bowling ball and freaked out. Who knows? It's all strange and weird. What's the movie's called? Strange Places or Going Places?
Yeah, Going
all of
Places.
it's weird to me. I don't know. It's intriguing.
Yeah, it's intriguing. Well, what else is intriguing? We're going to find out and buy or sell. Natasha's going to read out some more stories in the world of movie news. Myself, Schnepp, and Rocha are either going to buy or sell it. Natasha, what are we buying or selling?
Deadline reports that the Hong Kong-based Media Asia company has acquired the Chinese distribution rights to Martin Scorsese's The Irishman. A potential shooting date has been set for early 2017 with the intention of releasing the film in 2018. The movie will unite Robert De Niro and Al Pacino with a script written by Gangs of New York writer Steve Zalian. The Irishman is based on the Charles Brandt book I Heard You Paint Houses, which is the deathbed story from hitman Frank the Irishman Sheeran about the disappearance of former Teamsters union boss Jimmy Hoffa. The movie will reportedly be using technology a la Benjamin Button for De Niro and Pacino so they can act in the flashback scenes. While earlier stories said that Joe Pesci was also attached, it looks like he may have decided to stay in retirement since Deadline's story makes no mention of the actor. Kristian, do you buy or sell the 2018 release for Scorsese's The Irishman?
Well, I want to sell it because I want it to come out tomorrow, but yeah, I buy it. I buy it because it means I know when I can see this movie. I cannot wait to see this movie. I cannot wait to see Pacino and De Niro back together in a Scorsese movie once again. I'm a little bummed that Pesci, I'm very bummed that Pesci's not going to be back. I like the idea that they're using the Benjamin Button technology and the, even if you look at what they did with Michael Douglas in Ant-Man and what they did with Robert Downey Jr. in Civil War, this could be something very, very fun for film fans to watch them young again, acting in the flashbacks, but then to see it. They haven't really, the last movie that together that they were really good in, besides Night Falls, was was Heat.
Yeah.
Heat was a movie that they were in very limited time together,
Right.
and the other thing that they did was just terrible. I forget the name of the stupid thing, but
48 seconds.
not
whatever
48.
the
Yeah, whatever that's.
I still
Righteous Kill.
Righteous Kill. I mean, that
Kill
must have hurt your mouth just saying that.
Yeah.
No, yeah, but it's all in
Righteous
the brain.
It's
just
good.
so we're clear.
It's good. So anyway, so
Just so we're clear.
Oh, were you just making a little trivia comment there? I caught that.
Well, that
Broke
doesn't-
was saying how he could just call that up if it was a question.
good.
Instead of like a schmodown or something.
Good for him. So there you go. Schnepp, what do you think about this?
Man, oh man. I think it's great. I love the idea. Unfortunately, you're right. Joe Pesci is in retirement. He's not coming out of retirement. People are trying to drag him out, kicking and screaming out of retirement. They're going to his house. They're making house calls. He's talking to them. He's having stories. They're having dinners and drinks. And he's saying, "Get out of my house!" At the end of the thing. He's not doing it. But I'm glad that Pacino and De Niro are doing it. I love anything that Scorsese does, especially if it involves gangsters. It's going to deal with Hoffa and all these kinds of amazing things. And we've got a date now. In 2 years, we're going to be seeing this movie, so I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I absolutely buy it. I love what you're saying about Pesci. It's true. And this is the same thing that happened to him the first time around in the 80s. Like De Niro and Scorsese, he was a bouncer. Pesci was a bouncer at a club.
Yep.
And they came, and after he'd done a couple films, he just was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And they talked him into being in movies. Wow. So they're thinking this thing could work again to bring him into this movie, and unfortunately it's
Maybe
not.
when they start filming, they'll just drag him into the get in here.
Just do an old school mafia thing and just drag. But no, it's. I think I'm excited about it. It's everyone's going back to the well that we got to know them for, right? And what we really love them for, right? This gangster stuff, this kind of mafia stuff, Scorsese, Pacino, De Niro, all these. And if they're gonna do one last swan song, why not let it be something like this? This looks fantastic. This sounds really good.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking forward to it very much so, especially because Steve Zahn is a good writer, and I'm looking forward. When he hits it, he really hits it.
Can I just bring up this Benjamin Button? I stop calling it. Who's calling it Benjamin Button? It's just a technology. Why do they always have to mention Benjamin Button?
Just because
say it the way Natasha
it just
said
makes
it.
me sick.
Just because to make him young again is to go
Button.
back in time and make him young.
No,
is what
I know, but it's still, it's just like they've done this de-aging really well. They could say that, the Ant-Man technology,
Well, no, but
the Michael Douglas, but I just think of that gross
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah.
Every
Benjamin
time I
Button.
see Benjamin Button, I just think of you like,
Look at me, I'm young and old.
It's like the Six Flags old man.
I know,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yes.
Creepy old dancing baby with a rugged,
Yeah.
strange face. I don't want to see that.
You love the old. You love that movie. You love it. Can I buy you a poster of that movie?
Please don't.
I would love to do.
Please
that.
do not do
All
that.
right.
Benjamin Button? Oh,
No.
yeah.
All right. What's next?
Okay, an animated film from DC Comics and Warner Brothers Home Entertainment titled Batman Return of the Caped Crusaders has released its first promo, and it reunites the stars of the 60s series Adam West, Burt Ward, and Julie Newmar. As the newly released teaser shows, West and Ward fall back into form as Batman and Robin, who are both right at home again in the classic 80s getup. Return of the Caped Crusaders will be released for digital HD on October 11th and on Blu-ray on November 1st. Schnepp, buy or sell the new teaser trailer for Batman Return of the Caped Crusaders.
Holy microwave dinner, Batman! Yeah, I buy this. I think Bill Finger and Dick Sprang are jumping around somewhere up there. They're very happy to
Nice.
see those giant props. I loved hearing Adam West's slightly aged Batman's voice. Burt Ward, it was fun. If this is just a throwback to that 60s Batman where it was super corny, biff bang pow kind of stuff, I'm glad they're doing a movie. This is the only way they could get these guys back together.
Yeah.
So I look forward to it. I guess it's coming out this summer. Check it out. It looks like good fun.
I sell this.
Oh, wait a sec, Kristian. I buy this.
It's okay. I sell it. I think that for anybody over 40, I can understand why you would buy it. I get it. It's fun to see them come back. I can't imagine anyone who is maybe under 40 or really not super nostalgic and watch some of these things because I heard about the campiness. The campiness
or
fun.
if you're under 40 and just enjoy having fun.
Well,
what about that?
I don't know. I think what they're selling it on is Burt Ward and Adam West,
Right.
and there's some and there is some nostalgia there too. But I think it's for them to be able to sell more autographs at Comic-Con, and I don't know if I've ever cared less about a story that we've ever done. I just don't. It's like, is it fun to see, and do I understand why they're doing it? Yes. I just don't care at all.
Oh, well, I buy it because as people who watch this show know, I'm 6 centuries old. So to me, this is stuff I've seen many, many times. I absolutely think it's fun. And, this is what the animated Batman universe does. They'll come up with, like, Brave and Bold. They'll come up with stuff that, like, takes Batman in new directions or plays around with him because fans will go with it and enjoy the portrayal. And it's great to see Adam West and Burt Ward coming back. And it's got the right vibe. The trailer has the absolute right vibe. They're in a microwave play, which is how ridiculous those sets were back in the 60s and how much fun. So, yeah, maybe it's meant for an older crowd, but the younger crowd could rediscover these and go back and watch those shows.
I gotta say, the reason they're doing this animated movie is because the younger crowd of comic book readers have been buying for the last 2.5 years the Batman 66 comic books.
Right.
And that created such a splash. People were like, oh my God, people really still like this old comedy version of Batman.
Right.
That's why this is happening. So there is a market for it.
Yeah, and there's a great way to kind of come back from some of the middling reviews of Killing Joke and, of course, Batman vs. Superman and Suicide Squad. You want to create something that's a little more feel-good, so this could work in doing that and repairing some of that kind of faith in the DC
You're going to have
brand.
Lego Batman, which is also
Which
comedic.
looks great,
You're going to
yeah.
have this, which is comedic. And you're going to have Ben Affleck's Batman, which is going to be the dark Batman.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
Cool. What's next?
The first trailer.
Kristian, you
So ready
hater.
to move on. The first trailer for Hidden Figures has been released. The new movie tells the untold true story of African American women working during NASA's formative years in a decade marked by racial division and women's oppression. The movie delves into the tale of three women, Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, and Mary Jackson, who worked for NASA when the agency was just getting underway. Notable among the three is Johnson, played by Taraji P. Henson, a brilliant mathematician who is known for calculating the trajectory for the flight of Alan Shepard, the first American in space. The movie also stars Oscar winner Octavia Spencer of The Help and hits theaters on January 13th, 2017. Rocha, buy or sell the first trailer for Hidden Figures?
Oh, absolutely buy this thing. This looks fantastic. I grew up in Virginia, so you heard these stories from people randomly in newspapers because this was based out of Hampton. So it was in that state and in that city that they found these women. And these women came to work, like not the African American initially, but women came to work for NASA after World War II because there weren't enough men there to crunch numbers, so they had to go find people. And then eventually, when they had to go find African American women because Franklin Delano Roosevelt had signed an act to put this into motion. So this is a true story that should have been told for quite some time. It's amazing to me it's 2016, and we're just now telling the story. And the book just now came out. Wow. And that's what's so sad about this situation. This should have been out a long time ago before now. But I'm happy it is out, so I buy it completely because I think it's a great story to tell. And I'm always happy whenever Taraji P. Henson is on screen doing anything. She is one of my favorite actresses, bar none. Always brings the right mix of vulnerability and power to whatever role she does. And so this looks fantastic. I wish the trailer didn't have kind of the simple jokes of, hey, you're supposed to throw this out and, the kind of jazz, the easy shots. But I still think overall it looks great. And it's nice to see Costner going back to where he belongs, which is the 60s with JFK and 13 Days. He just owns that decade. Yeah. And so it's great to see him in there. And so this looks fantastic to me.
I agree with you. I buy this trailer pretty big. The cast, anytime you see Spencer in there, man. I mean, she's going to bring in that. There's something just kind of calming about her every time you see her. She can explode when she needs to. But this cast is really great. It is a good story to tell. It is interesting that it's taken a long time for this story to be told, but I'm glad that they are telling it. And I think that it is a movie that. When does this movie come out again? Does it say?
January
2017.
January, interesting date, but I still think that it's a movie that could really pull on the heartstrings, tell a great story, so I'm buying it.
Yeah, I'm buying it too, and I think they'll actually do early release, so it can be an Oscar contender. It'll probably come out in December in limited release, and then big release in January. I buy this as well. I love stories about NASA and the beginnings of NASA and space. The Right Stuff, this feels like it could be a companion piece to The Right Stuff and Apollo 13. It falls into that same category, but it's also something, like you said, is a hidden story, and it's surprising that it's taken this long to tell the story, but I can't wait to see this story and learn more about it cinematically.
Yeah, and it's legend because John Glenn, after an IBM computer did the analysis of his trajectory, he said, no, bring in Katherine Johnson, which is the character Taraji P. Henson is playing, to run them, to crunch the numbers again.
Right. Wow.
He wanted that reassurance at that time, in that time in history, from an African-American woman, and that's powerful.
That is.
All right, now we turn it over to our own Wendy Lee, who's been monitoring the chat room. Wendy, what are they saying about the buy and sell and the main topics today?
Well, it doesn't seem like anyone in the chat room is heartbroken over Natalie Portman not returning to any future Thor films. They found her boring and thinks that she just may not be a person who connects to the audience in major blockbuster films. Tristan Lee says, I wonder how they're going to handle this. Maybe they will just have Jane be mentioned here and there, just like they did with Pepper Potts. And John Liebrick says, as much as I love Natalie Portman, all of the time she's dipped her toe into widescreen appeal, she's faltered pretty horribly. For example, the prequels, Thor, and Wonder Emporium. And for our buy or sell section, Irishman looks like it's a huge buy for the chat room. Parsa Movie says this looks like a new Scorsese classic, hard buy. And Corey Hoser says, I buy with reservations, hoping this means this will be a good De Niro movie.
All right. Thank you, Wendy, and thank you guys for all your chatting there. And keep doing it because we're going to get to opening this week, brought to you by our friends over at AMC, talking about the latest coming out in theaters. Natasha, what's coming out this week?
Well, a movie I'm super excited for, Kubo and the Two Strings. Young Kubo is voiced by Art Parkinson's peaceful existence comes crashing down when he accidentally summons a vengeful spirit from the past. Now on the run, Kubo joins forces with Monkey, voiced by Charlize Theron, and Beetle, voiced by Matthew McConaughey, to unlock unlock a secret legacy. Armed with a magical instrument, Kubo must battle the Moon King, voiced by Ralph Fiennes, and other gods and monsters to save his family and solve the mystery of his fallen father, the greatest samurai warrior the world has ever seen. And we also have Imperium, an idealistic FBI agent played by Daniel Radcliffe, goes undercover to infiltrate a white supremacist group that's plotting an act of terror.
All right, so I didn't know that Imperium was coming out. Imperium was coming out this week, and I really want to see that movie. I thought Daniel Radcliffe looks great. It reminded me, obviously, a very different story than American History X, but still had some of that, of that feel for sure. So I'm curious to how that movie is going to be. I haven't heard any critics talk about it yet. That's the movie I absolutely want to see, and I'm hearing great things about Kubo. What they did with the stop animation, right?
Stop motion.
And for me, this is something that I've heard a lot of buzz about. I got to talk to Travis Knight at Comic-Con, which was really interesting to hear how they made this movie. It was very interesting, and it looks like it's again going to tug on the emotional heartstrings. So for me, that's the one I think out of the two that I would prefer to see is Kubo. How about you?
I saw Kubo last week, and
okay.
I think it's one of Leica's best films, and I think it is one of the best animated films to come out this year.
Wow.
It's incredible. It's emotional. The story is great. It's original. Everything about it is amazing. I highly recommend it. Perry and Wendy and myself are going to do a spoiler-free review of Kubo later today, so check it out where we can get into details but not give you the whole thing away. But stop motion is a beautiful art, and when you see just the trailer for this, it's astonishing and jaw-dropping. And the entire movie is, I think, also some of the best 3D I've ever seen as far as stop motion or live action, anything. It's really well done. So can't recommend Kubo highly enough. I did not see Imperium, but I'm with you, Kristian. I was waiting for this to come out. I was like, what? It's coming out tomorrow?
Right.
Wow. It's just a gift of horror and terror. So I can't wait to see that one.
Rocha?
Yeah, definitely. But I think they're both tied for me in terms of interest because these white supremacist movies, when they're done well, they're really chilling and they're unsettling to watch, to experience. You know, I've seen a couple of these over the years, and I mean, American History X is a fantastic film when you get deep into that, deep dive into that film. But this, I've been looking forward to Kubo for quite some time because I'm a massive samurai film guy. So this is a great take, and of course, Lucky does great stuff with their work, and so this looks fantastic, and the voice work looks fun. You know, Charlize is doing great work as Monkey. McConaughey, it's interesting to see him play that kind of character.
He kills it in this too,
and that's what I'm looking forward to. Because it's not really his style usually, so this is going to be fun to play with. So it looks fantastic, and everything about every trailer that's come out has made me even more excited to see Kubo. So.
All right, well, thank you once again to our friends over at AMC. That's everything happening opening this week. Speaking of Kubo, our own Perry Nemiroff got to sit down with the director, Travis Knight, and we have a little clip from that interview. We're going to play that right now.
How about in terms of your animation technique? Is there anything about Kubo that would have made it a film that you would have had to have made after movies like Box Trolls and Paranorman?
Oh, undoubtedly, yeah. I mean, this is by far the most ambitious thing that we've ever taken on. We at the beginning we started talking about it as a stop-motion David Lean film, a big, monumental Kurosawan myth, but in miniature. And because that's the way we shoot these things. It's, we have a crummy warehouse in Portland, Oregon, and we shoot things on a tabletop that we gussy up to make it look like it's a real place. But it's a small-scale movie, and it needed to feel, because of what it was, an epic, it needed to feel like a large, sweeping, epic. And so that means, using a lot of different techniques that we developed over the years to make that happen. At the beginning of the process, we had no idea how we were going to do half of this stuff. But from Coraline on, the 10 years that Leica has been in existence, we've kept the core creative team together. We've kept the band together, which is really unusual in this industry for a team to be together that long. And what it's allowed us to do is with each successive film, we build on the artistic and the technological innovations that happen over the course of making the film that we can then apply that learning to the next film. And so it's only by virtue of the fact that we made Coraline and Paranorman and Box Trolls that we built up the skill set, the technological and artistic skill set to make a movie of this scale. And we couldn't have done this. We couldn't have even imagined doing this film, a handful of years ago.
Okay, once again, that was Perry Nemiroff interviewing director Travis Knight. That entire interview is up on the channel right now. Make sure you go and check that out. Give Perry some love for the great interview that she did. And also, if you haven't checked out the Collider Rap video, that's the Collider News team, you should make sure you check that out. And we're going to do some live Twitter questions, so make sure that you are submitting at Collider Video and to Natasha_Alexis, correct?
Yes.
I got it. All right, good. So
I didn't think about that.
Make sure you
no,
do that.
actually, that's wrong. Natasha Lexus _.
Bam.
Oh, I was close. Anyway, to get some of those questions, we're going to be doing that after Mailbag. But before we go to Mailbag, there's a big old Schmodown match coming up. And JTE, look at that. JTE. It looks like he is going to go after the wild man, Josh Makuga. JTE says he deserves to be in the tournament,
Their
wants to be in the
heads look
tournament.
really big. Is that Photoshop?
No, that's
strangely realistic.
They've both been
Real.
working out. JT's been working out like a madman. So
Team
between
evil.
the two of these guys, like JT says that Makuga shouldn't even be in the same arena with him. Who do you think? Who do you got in this one, JTE or Makuga?
Well, Makuga has a couple of things over JMX because JBV or whatever his name, I can never get it right.
Neither
That
can
guy, he has some issues. I mean, he was calling, short run instead of short round. I had to correct him on one of these movie fight things. He was actually calling him short run. And I was like, dude, what is it? This is your story that you're making up. No one's telling you to say this, yet you're saying short run. What is wrong with you? It's JMX in the house, ladies and gentlemen.
You got JMX winning?
No, I got Makuga crushing him in a
Crushing
stranglehold like a python, like
Unbelievable.
squeezing the life out of him.
Wow. Rocha?
Yeah, I got to go with JT on this one because JT, he's desperate for a win. Like, he needs something. He's been having some trouble recently, and all the drama that happened on the Schmoes No Show, being rejected by Clark, all this jazz.
And also Jim Sock dropping him like a hot biscuit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All this stuff. He's dealing with a lot of emotions. So I think he really needs this. Although you can't count out Makuga because Makuga kind of needs this too after he lost to me.
Makuga does choke up a little bit,
he does,
but
he
he
does.
could come back with that
But he always
python.
finds a way
Yeah.
back.
He always does find a way back.
He's amazing
His
like that.
last two matches, though, he lost to you and he lost to Clark.
Yeah.
He puts up good fights, but he can't get the win.
Makuga's like a dirty gumdrop. He just sticks to you, and I think he could win this if he just does it right.
I don't. JT is JT hasn't won a singles match since 2014. But neither one of them. So I think JT is going to take it. Makuga's my boy, obviously, but I think that I don't know. There's just something about JT right now. He's hungry and he wants to be in the tournament. So that happens tomorrow, 2 p.m. Make sure you check that out. But here's the thing, though. If JTE wins the match, right. Mark Ellis and I will play one another in the Ultimate Schmodown tournament. Yes, if Josh Makuga wins, I'll play this guy. So this is why he was talking his smack before. I will play him if Makuga wins. So we're gonna find out what happens tomorrow. We'll see. But if not, you play Sam Levine. So it's gonna be very interesting.
Oh, I got something for Sam Levine.
All right, let's get to emails. What's up there in the mailbag?
Okay, Tyler Carnes writes, "Hey guys, thanks for being on the cutting edge of movie news and always pushing the envelope to bring us the best content. I've never seen a remake of a war film, and it got me wondering if there are any. Maybe there are some I'm not aware of. I've seen multiple stories set in the same war, sometimes featuring the same historical figures, but I wonder if we could ever see a certified remake of something like Saving Private Ryan. It seems that certain genres are more safe than others for remakes. Documentaries are another example I can think of. Can you guys think of any other genres that don't generally have remakes? And if so, what makes some genres less appealing for remakes? Thanks, and keep up the awesome work. And also, P.S. that recent Collider News video was amazing."
What? Rocha, let's start with you on this one.
Yeah, this is interesting. Yeah, I went back and tried to Google and look back to the history. Yeah, there aren't, if any, war movie remakes. This is interesting, and I think because the war movies have a kind of reverence to them that people don't want to necessarily go through and remake and create all over again. I mean, some war movies are made in the vein of certain things, like Dirty Dozen has a vibe of like Seven Samurai and Magnificent Seven. You get that vibe from it, but it's not necessarily a direct remake. So it's interesting to explore that and see that there aren't that many. So it is kind of remake proof. I think another one is biopics. Not a lot of people do redo biopics. They'll take a different angle or they'll take pieces of a person's life, but they won't redo biopics. That's also a genre that doesn't get a lot of remakes. But I'm not surprised at all that we couldn't find any because, like I said, there's a reverence to them that kind of supersedes other genres.
Like we mentioned, biopics, they usually come out in pairs. Like they had two Hitchcock movies.
Yeah,
Can't you just do one? Why do you have to have two? I mean,
but they
you're
cover
right.
different things.
Yeah, and they're covering like this is from this the actress's perspective about Hitchcock, and this is about Hitchcock and his wife. Or
during a film.
Totally.
One film, yeah.
So I mean, the biopic thing makes a lot of sense. You can cover somebody's life from their early beginnings. They could do another Chaplin film that's simply just about him as the tramp and don't cover anything else, or cover him when he was kicked out of America. Just that entire section of Chaplin's life. So I mean, biopics make sense. War movies, though, I don't ever want to see a remake of Platoon.
Yeah.
Right.
Nor does I don't want to see a remake of Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, or Apocalypse Now.
Or
Yeah,
Apocalypse Now.
yeah.
Why? Because those movies did exactly what they were supposed to do. They told a singular story and an event, and they're from a very particular perspective. And from the writing and the directing and the acting, everything about it, it doesn't warrant a remake. There are so many other stories that are being. Look at Dunkirk. There's all these different films that are coming out that haven't been really covered yet from a particular angle. So I think that's why you won't see true life of war movies being remade. You're just going to see newer stories and different perspectives from war films.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. I mean, that was my biopic was the other one. It's just because even if you look at something like Jobs, right? Now, you had that Ashton Kutcher movie that came out, and then they made sure that the next movie, the one with Fassbender, didn't cover a lot of the same stuff. There was the garage stuff here and there, but it was completely different because there's just something else about the biopic. It's been covered before. We've seen it before. The director's done it before. Like, if they were going to do another Ali movie, it'd be tough to do, you know, because Michael Mann covered a lot of his life and covered a lot of the kind of footage that we'd seen throughout the ESPN footage that they show constantly all the time. And so as far as war movies go, it's very I agree with what you were saying. You look at something like Saving Private Ryan that Spielberg was obviously very attached to, had his vision to it. There, you felt Spielberg in there. And Platoon, another great example, is that because Oliver Stone was in Vietnam, wanted it to, that was a story, you felt Oliver Stone in there. There's just something about it. Those movies, it's really a piece of them. And it's not to say that other movies that have been remade haven't been pieces of director. Just the war films are just, there's something different about it that you really can't recreate it and cover the same events in the same story.
Especially, like you said, events like Hamburger Hill. I remember being in the theater, and there were a few vets in the theater breaking out crying because they were there. And it was like certain things like that are real events, have emotional impacts, and it's not just the 7 stories that we could retell. Magnificent Seven, you did Battle Beyond the Stars, which is a futuristic version of that same, mythological story of like, we've got to assemble a team. Rogue One is Magnificent Seven. So I mean, you have that time-honored story that you can do remakes and do things like that, or just like franchises that you can try doing remakes, and we'll see what happens with Ben-Hur. I mean, Well,
the closest thing was what Eastwood did with Flags of Our Fathers and then Letters from Iwo Jima.
Yeah, right.
It was essentially remaking the same movie from two different
points of view. I like that,
which is the closest thing I think we've ever come.
All right, that was Mailbag. Now it's time for the live Twitter questions. Natasha's been going through the Twitter questions. She just picks them out. What do we got?
Okay, Dirty Dan asks, is there a movie franchise that has one movie so bad that it tarnishes all of them for you? For example, Indiana Jones 4.
It doesn't tarnish the whole thing. I mean, even Indiana Jones 4 doesn't tarnish the other ones for me. I mean,
you just forget about the fourth one.
There's one that puts a big blemish on it. I mean, you look at Rocky 5 for an example, for sure. That's a movie. The Matrix, the last Matrix was one that
the last 2 Matrixes for me.
The second one for me I just thought there was somewhat. Even though it wasn't great, I thought that if the third one had delivered, it would answer questions from the second one to ultimately make it better. But it didn't. So it does. So I do understand how it makes it not great. But I think that for me, it's got to be Rocky 5. But I don't know if it just destroys a franchise. I got to think about that.
Yeah. I don't think the Police Academy movies count because they started sucking after the second one. You're like, just go. They're gonna suck. Watch the guy make those weird sound effects.
Miami Beach was the end. That was it. They should have stopped at Miami Beach.
What do you think?
Godfather Part 3. That's the one for me.
Yeah.
Oh man, it just completely tore that whole story apart and it unspooled these really tight narratives that had connected everyone, and the end of Godfather Part 2 is so fantastic. When you turn him into this thing where he's trying to take over the Vatican, and Sofia Coppola is absolutely horrible in the film as his daughter, and then you have him and Kay getting back together. She aborted his child. Like, there's not like some kind of let's do a resolution 4 decades later. It just doesn't. It just was too much of the let's all be happy and hold hands and kumbaya into the end. And it just blew my mind. Even the ending was terribly done. Even though his acting, Pacino's acting, the film was so powerful at the end. It to me kind of killed some of the vibe.
I can say Escape from L.A. kind of. It hurts. Yeah. It hurt Escape from New York, but then again, you watch Escape from New York, you don't have to see Escape from L.A. again. So I find that time heals all wounds. Like, you can they screwed up and made this horrible sequel. Just forget that ever happened and watch the original one because that one's awesome.
Well, I got 2 that I can't believe we forgot. One is you forget when Tim Burton starts out with Batman, And then Batman Returns is fine.
Yeah.
I
And
love Batman Returns.
But and
Then Schumacher.
then they hit you with Schumacher's,
Yeah.
which is in the same continuity. And then it starts to go, ooh, that's a different type of movie.
Yeah. Right.
And then it hits you with Batman and Robin and almost sinks the entire franchise.
It did. It killed the
It
franchise.
killed it and brought it back. We don't think about it because Nolan resurrected Batman
7 years later.
It's true. And then someone else pointed out in the chat room, Die Hard's making a good run at trying to destroy the franchise.
Yes.
Die Hard 4, I think that the rated R version it makes up for what the PG-13 version did in the theater, but that's what most of us saw. And the fifth one is just one of the worst things that has ever been created. It is just terrible and almost hurts the franchise. It certainly hurts Bruce Willis as John McClane because that's not John McClane in the last one. That's Bruce Willis from the Expendables movies. I mean, he is clearly just being Bruce Willis in that movie. So I think for me personally, Die Hard might be the one.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right, what's next?
Okay, Phil Fang Foom writes,
Bless
you get $100 million and full creative control. What comic book movie do you make?
Go for it.
I've already answered it. Moon Knight. Moon Knight is what I make. I've been saying this for a million times. Moon Knight is going to always be my choice. That's the one. It deserves an awesome, gritty, tough, well done. And you can go to Egypt. You can go to all these places that are related to Moon Knight if you have $100 million and shoot an extensively awesome 2-hour and 15-minute movie about the Moon Knight, and people will love it.
I'll put a halt on the McGee movie for now, even though he said those comments about Game of Thrones and I think it was Lord of the Rings, whatever he said. I'll put a halt on that, and I would go with the comic version of Masters of the Universe.
Nice. Nice.
Okay.
I would remake Fantastic Four the right way because I actually know how to tell the story. I'm a director. I would, believe me, if you just followed Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and John Byrne, just those runs alone, and combine a couple things, you would have the most fantastic cosmic science fiction superhero film ever put down to film. So that would be great, and then I would love to see New Gods. I would love to make a New Gods adaptation.
Would you do a Mole Man as your criminal?
No,
Or villain?
I would definitely have.
Doom?
I would have Dr. Doom, and I would probably bring in a couple of the other, the smaller characters.
Okay.
All right, Natasha, what's next?
Okay, Joseph asks, which movie in 2016 surprised you the most of how good it was?
I mean, I think you got to throw Jungle Book up there for sure. I mean, it looked great from that D23 footage, but it really delivered. I think Sing Street for me is something that I knew I had heard some things about it, but then it just really, really surprised me. And The Nice Guys. Those are the three movies that I had hopes for, but surprised me with exactly how good they were. And all of them are in my kind of top 5 for the year.
Wow, just because I recently saw it, Kubo was just jaw-droppingly amazing, and not just a good animated film, but just a great film.
I have 3. Sing Street. With echoing Kristian, I had no idea it was going to enjoy it as much as I do. I bought the soundtrack as soon as I left the theater on iTunes. I had to have it. It's so good. Such great stuff. I would also say, what did I just look at? I'm sorry, I forgot real quickly. Crap. I'm losing that. Yeah, Eddie the Eagle. Eddie the Eagle was fantastic.
Yep.
Did not expect to enjoy that film, and
one,
I
actually.
enjoyed the heck out of that movie. And I would say Bloodfather.
Oh,
People
I
did
heard it's
not
good.
want to believe in this film. I drove out to Glendale
is that a
and
real
watched
movie?
it.
What
It
is
is
that?
so
I've
good.
never
It's
even
the
heard
new
of it.
Mel
It's
Gibson.
an
Blood
action
Father?
movie.
Bloodfather.
It's like
Wow.
it's his
So
Taken.
good. What?
It's his Taken. Right?
Yeah, it's his Taken.
I heard it's good.
It's so good.
Did it
man.
come and go?
No. It's
No,
just it's about to get a
last
wide
week.
release next week.
Bloodfather.
Bloodfather.
I
It
can't
came
even
out
believe
last
that that's a
week.
real title of a
Yeah.
movie.
I drove out to
I'm gonna
Glendale
go see
to watch it.
Bloodfather.
It was so good, and,
All right.
and people like this. Now the articles are coming out about the Gibson Renaissance now, possibly with all this stuff. So who knows? The guy's always a good actor, and that film
I was going to
surprised
see
me.
Imperium. Now I might have to go see
Well,
Bloodfather.
I want to see that. All right, let's do 2 more.
Okay, Anthony Noble asks, who is the most iconic fictional character? I'd say Superman or Vader.
Iconic. I mean, I throw Indiana Jones in there.
Yeah, there's a lot. Batman. There's a lot of iconic characters.
Rocky Balboa.
Mickey Mouse,
Yeah.
Snoopy.
Right.
Mouse.
That's true.
Yeah, there's these
movie.
iconic characters.
That's true.
Spider-Man with a dash. Spider-Dash man.
Spider-Man.
He crawls around and swings around on trees. I'm not
The
trees.
Joker is someone.
Oh yeah.
The Joker.
All right, let's do 2 more then.
Okay, Mr. 9 asks, do you think the DCEU could have been more successful if they used the Dark Knight trilogy as the foundation?
Well, let's wait for a second because the DC Cinematic Universe, it's still successful. It's not. I mean, maybe not critically as much, but it's still successful. Suicide Squad had an amazing opening. Yeah, it had a big drop off, but it's going to wind up making a lot of money. The story is continuing. There are a lot of people excited for the DC Cinematic Universe. It is successful. Would it have been more successful had they started with the the Dark Knight trilogy, you're looking at a different universe then, because remember, Nolan set his universe in the real. So I don't know if Superman could have existed in Nolan's universe.
It would have ruined Nolan's universe.
Yeah.
I mean, and you remember, like, even though Nolan's universe is like real, it's still unreal. You still have the Joker, you have Bane, you have Catwoman, you have, you know, bat pods rolling around in the streets. There's an element of the fantasy in the reality, but he never broke it out magical. You know, there's no magic or people with incantations of spells or aliens from other dimensions. So I think it would have ruined the reality that he set up in those 3 movies. So I'm glad it's not part of the Nolan universe. I like that those 3 films are just standalone Batman films, and I want to see a new Batman in this DC universe.
Well, you could argue they still kept the tone of a darkness in the extension of the DC universe,
darkness,
but
yes,
not
the realism.
not the realism. But and you're right, it wouldn't have existed. It would have completely blown apart the Nolan universe because you would have had to bring him back and had that version of Batman and have him interact with what all that was.
Right.
And you could have fit it into those 8 years that he stopped being Batman. It could have been a reason that he stopped. Why be Batman when you have Superman?
Right.
You could have played with it, but it would have blown the universe up.
Right. All right, last one.
Okay, American Slacker asks, with the Russo brothers endorsing a Squirrel Girl movie, could you see Netflix doing movies with smaller heroes like her?
Schnepp?
Yeah, Squirrel Girl would be great, but I'd like to see Squirrel Girl maybe on a Hulu series, like they just announced The Runaways. So I think Squirrel Girl might not have that same kind of impact theatrically. Like, I mean, I think Ant-Man was it proved a lot. You like take a character, a very small character, not just because he's Ant-Man, but just like a minute B-list character in the actual comic book world, and he was a pretty big hit as far as a feature film. So you could see a Squirrel Girl movie, but I think it would fit better as a in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or as like a Netflix or a Hulu type of series.
Well, they're doing it now. I mean, it's not like Luke Cage and Iron Fist with these amazing, best-selling.
Right.
You know, they're doing it now, kind of in that vein already.
Right.
So I'm absolutely down with that. I would love to see that. You know, I just mentioned Moon Knight a little bit ago. I'd love to see a Moon Knight Netflix series. That's certainly possible. They're doing it with the Punisher now with Bernthal.
Right.
So those smaller characters can get a really great treatment on that kind of limited run in Netflix. So to me, I'm a big fan of that. I would love to see that.
I think it's inevitable also because if you look at whether it be Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, we're in the early years of the Marvel universe on TV on Netflix. So this is like between the last 2 years.
Yeah.
What's it gonna? What is that atmosphere gonna look like in 5 years?
Well, you're
10
gonna have
years?
like every year you have 2 series that Netflix is holding to right now. I think next year they're gonna break that and say we're gonna do 3 series because you're gonna see the Punisher sooner than later.
Yeah. So there you go. So I mean, I think there's so many opportunities for something like that to happen. All right, that's everything today. I would like to thank everyone for joining us, including you guys. But Wendy Lee, where can they find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Wendy Lee Zaney.
Mr. Jon Schnepp, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram, just at Jon Schnepp. Collider Heroes just dropped yesterday. Check it out. Later today, me and Wendy and Perry are doing a Kubo review, and I'll see you later.
And Mr. John Rocha.
Yeah, you guys can always follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram, all my social media, and I think I'm getting on Snapchat at some point. Oh, my God. But you guys can always watch the Top 10 show. 5 p.m. is the new time now on Wednesdays, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Coming out, we just did Top 10 Epics that dropped yesterday. Please give that a watch. And there's already a lot of controversy about a certain Scottish film that I did not put on mine, and Matt did. So it's a lot of fun to see us banter back and forth about that. And please listen to my new podcast, The Cinephiles, which is now out on iTunes.
Natasha Martinez, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at NatashaLexis_. And if you haven't got the Collider News wrap yet, make sure to go and watch that. It's pretty awesome.
It is pretty awesome. And what else will be awesome is today's Jedi Council. We have myself, John Campea, Trisha Barr from Star Wars Insider, and Jeremy Johns will all be on this week's Collider Jedi Council. Make sure you check that out. It'll drop a little later. And obviously you can find me on the live Schmo show tonight, where Jeremy Johns will be my co-host on that one also. So check that out. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Kristian Harloff, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.